The Minnesota Vikings are 4-0 for the first time since 2016. That's hard to believe. All under the belt of Sam Darnold. Who would have thought we had been sitting here week 4 talking about Sam Darnold and the Minnesota Vikings being 4-0, undefeated, only one of, I think, 3 teams now that are undefeated in the NFL. Is that not bizarre to you? It's just absolutely bonkers, if you ask me. You didn't, but I'm going to answer. Are the Vikings the best team in the NFL now that we know that the Bills lost the Sunday night football game? This leaves the door open. Who's the best team now?
Unequivocally, the best team in the NFL is
Gotta be.
The Minnesota Vikings.
Gotta be. There's no question.
No, there's no question. Now, doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl or anything, but
no, because it's still the Vikings.
Right, but it's also, look at who they've beaten. They've beaten the Giants, okay, but then they beat San Francisco, they beat Houston, and they beat Green Bay. 3 assumed to be playoff teams. They beat, and not just beat, by the way, kind of stomped. They haven't had a close game. They played with their food a little bit with Green Bay here and kind of let Green Bay get back. But it's similar to like the Alabama-Georgia thing. It's like the defense starts playing a little more conservative. You let people get back into it. Makes the game look a little bit different than it should have been. However, the Vikings are dominant, and they're dominant on both sides of the ball. The defense is suffocating. Jordan Love threw for a lot of yards today. I think, he had 389 yards. Most of it came in the second half, but he was erratic. I mean, it was all over the field. He was the typical Brett Favre Green Bay quarterback where he would wow you, and then he would do something where you pulled your hair out. Minnesota is...
Also coming back from an injury, so I do give him a little bit of grace there.
Of course. And interesting, coming back from the injury against this defense, I was surprised he was able to put up the yards he was.
Yeah.
And the fact that they were able to kind of come back in the football game, ultimately turnovers are what bit them, but also turnovers from the Vikings is really the only reason Green Bay was able to kind of crawl back into the football game. That's what is so scary. Even a game like this where Minnesota made so many mistakes, Sam Darnold only 1 pick, he was really good as usual. They made so many mistakes. They had 3 turnovers. They let Green Bay kind of close back into the game, but they were still able to win it, and it never really felt in doubt. I think the Vikings are the most complete team in football. They have a scary offense that can strike at will. Sam Darnold is definitely playing the best football of his career. He's throwing absolute dimes, and the defense, you don't know what they're going to throw at you from drive to drive. They are incredible. And I don't know if they can sustain it. I don't know if they're going to go all the way, but I know I wouldn't want to play them.
I don't want to play anybody right now being the Buffalo Bills, period, but definitely not the Minnesota Vikings. One thing that really impressed me is they had 120 yards on the ground rushing. I thought it was pretty good for a team that, they really hang their hat on Sam Darnold most of the time. Justin Jefferson is obviously one of the greatest wide receivers. I think I saw a stat today where he got into the first 5 years most yards, and I think he was in the same category as like Rice, like Jerry Rice and all those guys, like these big timers. Randy Moss. Justin Jefferson is now in those talks, and I think that's great for him. But I never thought that Sam Darnold would be the one delivering the ball to him efficiently every single week. We keep thinking that the Sam Darnold crash is coming. I don't think it is anymore. I think that we know now that Sam Darnold was just hidden by a lot of other bad situations at other teams. And I think that now he's gotten into an offense where things are just moving and grooving for him. I really don't see a team capable of beating the Minnesota Vikings as it sits right now.
That the Sam Darnold situation, and we talked about this a little bit last week as Malik Willis looked great with Matt LaFleur, it just shows you the difference in coaching, what good coaching does. Sam Darnold was never really the problem. His problem was Adam Gase and New York, and then he went to Carolina. Well, no one looks good in Carolina. That's why he went to the 49ers, was the backup to Purdy, and Shanahan was singing his praises. He was like, Sam Darnold's great. He's fantastic. Would love to have Sam Darnold as my quarterback. He's just not better than Brock Purdy. And then Kevin O'Connell sweeps in, who I think is one of the best offensive minds in football, and he proves it. Sam Darnold is a legitimate MVP candidate 4 weeks through the season. I didn't expect that. Me and you both thought Sam Darnold would look good to start and then start to regress. That might still happen, but just to be frank, I thought the regression would have come by now. I didn't think they'd be 4-0 and cruising. And also, when you add to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison finally coming back and looking just terrific. Jordan Addison, I think he scored twice today. I don't know who has the team that can stop Minnesota? That's the thing. I don't know. I think you have to hope that you can force Sam Darnold into a mistake or exploit the defense like Jordan Love was able to do and get into a shootout. But if Minnesota gets up on you early, like they've done against every opponent, they just suffocate you. They have trailed for less than 4 minutes all season. That is crazy.
Wow. When you say that, it hit me differently. Next week they go to, they're at home against the Jets.
Right.
That should be a win for them. Now I know the Jets played a little rough today. The weather, you can say whatever you will, but you still got beat by the Broncos. I don't care what you say.
Of course.
That doesn't look good on the resume. So going to be a tough game next week. This will probably be the best defense aside from the 49ers that they faced this year. So going to be interesting to see how they do there. I assume it's a win. They have a week 6 bye, so they have the early bye. But listen to these next 6 games, okay? You have the Lions, the Rams, the Colts, the Jags, the Titans, the Bears. Out of those 6, there's only one team that I see giving them a really big problem, and that's going to be the Lions. However,
and the Lions haven't looked as good as Minnesota has.
Right, and we're going to see tomorrow night, Monday night, how they're really looking. But also, they play the Lions at home after a bye week. So that's another 2 points in their favor.
So you've got these next 7 games, the Jets, the Lions, the Rams, Colts, Jaguars, Titans, Bears. Those next 7 games, even if you lose 2 of them, which, right. I mean, come on, they're probably not. They might lose 1. If they lose 2, it's probably because we're maybe starting to see that Sam Darnold regression or injury, something unforeseen. But just say through those 7 games, they lose 2, then they're 9-2 going into week 14 or week 13. They are cruising to the NFC 1 seed. And you look at their schedule, and obviously anything can happen. It's the NFL. But when you just read off the next 7 weeks, you look at the ones after that, there's not a lot of tough opponents left on the schedule. They've almost got all their tough games out of the way. They are in a really good position. And they're starting to be in that position where if you're a Minnesota fan, it's starting to get past the point of just hope, and you're actually starting to believe that this might be the year.
Well, it also happened in 2016, and you didn't win a Super Bowl then either. So
they fell apart midway through the year that season.
So knowing the Vikings, I know how the fans operate. I know that you guys, you just want to act like it's not even happening. You just want to close your eyes, and you just want to look up at week 17, and you hope that you're, 15-2, 14-3, somewhere around there. But I will say, for Minnesota fans, I think it's time to turn that leaf. It's not Kirk Cousins anymore. This is the real deal. This is the most well-rounded team in the NFL, and you've got a shot to not only make it to the playoffs, but through the playoffs this time.
I think most Vikings fans are probably already to that stage. I think they're probably already forgetting the bad vibes.
So much history of bad stuff happening.
It's true. It's usually something bad goes wrong. And if I have to find something bad in this performance, just to try and say, only 3 points scored in the second half. Now, is that because they had the big lead, they just managed the game, they got sloppy with the turnovers? Or did Green Bay discover something that other teams can capitalize on? I don't know, but I know that Minnesota's in a really good spot.